Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. Today we shall be talking about the history of Geographic Information System in this module. As you all know, in the previous modules we have studied about the concepts of remote sensing, GPS, and we have also had a brief introduction to GIS. So, in this module we shall be studying about a brief introduction to GIS, its historical background and the timeline contribution to GIS. So, to continue, the learning objective of this module will be to review the timeline of advancements that have occurred in Geographic Information System, popularly called as GIS. Further, this chapter highlights the contribution to the evolution of applications in GIS made by pioneers with limited resources and enhancements in the techniques with time. The role of underlying principles and technologies in the domain of GIS development, for example, global positioning system, that is GPS, and remote sensing has also been attempted to familiarize the audience within the domain of this module. So, dear students, as you all know, GIS is also called as Geographic Information System. It is a system for capturing, storing, checking, integrating, manipulating, analyzing and displaying data which are spatially referenced to Earth. So, that means this entire system needs to have some input, that input is stored, it is checked for some discrepancies and then analyzed in the GIS domain, and the particularly important thing is the data that is spatially referenced to Earth. So, GIS is basically a combination of art, engineering, science and technology. That means we use all these things in GIS to arrive at the best decision for a problem. This normally considered to involve a spatially referenced computer database and appropriate applications software. So, as I told earlier also, the term GIS is made from a combination of three words, that is geographic, information and system. The word geographic implies the location of spatial objects in terms of their geographic coordinates, that is the longitude or the latitude. The information stands for data of specific features in qualitative as well as the quantitative terms. The third one is the term system, which stands for various interconnected components with diverse functions that form GIS. So, GIS is a computer based mapping tool that facilitates manipulation of large information in the form of layers. So, the GIS utilization involves two main components, that is the computer system and the geographic data. The computers are used for preparation and digital representation of Earth's surface features in GIS software. This technique is used by people belonging to different fields such as historians, meteorologists, statisticians, planners, architects, commercial companies as well as the engineers. Various applications of GIS include preparation of road maps, maps representing urban areas, rivers, railway lines, various other places, cloud cover, temperature and other meteorological parameters as well can be prepared using GIS. The package of software that is comprised in GIS, it enables its acquisition, storage, manipulation, analysis and visualization of particular data or geographic information after the complete analysis. So, now coming to our main topic, that is the historical background of GIS. As you all know, the database GIS and digital cartography, they are the two independent fields from where GIS has been derived. The decreased computer cost and the rise in power has induced the GIS technology. So, the first one is database link. The present concept of GIS with combination of spatial and non-spatial data has important utilization of database management system, that is DBMS. The development of RDBMS, that is relational database management system, was particularly significant in the field of GIS. For example, Oracle, that is widely used today. The second input is digital cartography. Cartography is the art of map making. So, the developments in larger computer aided design, that is CAD field, also induced the enhancement in the field of digital cartography, which subsequently led to developments in GIS. Now, coming to the timeline contribution of GIS. To begin with the history of GIS, it is a recent expansion of conventional cartography, that is the art and science of map making. Although cartographic maps were simple with limited data displayed, but like the conventional cartography, our GIS also comprises of a base map. The paper maps were used earlier to represent the geographical information of an area. The geographic data was overlaid by hand on the printed paper maps before introduction of concept of computerization of maps. The time period from 1960 to 1980 was the pioneering period for GIS that originated new discipline in future research and development for GIS. The quantitative revolution of 1960s in geography, it motivated the expansion of computer programs for map analysis, which were otherwise difficult for manual operation. The computer involvement as substitute of manual cartographic processes for complex data was focused in the 1970s. So, now coming to the first step where the application of GIS was actually recognized was the cholera map that was prepared by a scientist John Snow to represent the epidemiological data in 1864 for the city of Soho in London, and it was a major startup step that linked geography and public health safety. So, this map preparation was not merely the beginning of spatial analysis, it also marked the initiation of an entire field of study of GIS, epidemiology, as we call it, as the study of the spread of diseases. So, the dot map with location of fatal cholera cases made by the scientist Dr. Snow also discovered the source of disease spread by contaminated water. As you all know, cholera spreads due to contaminated water. So, after locating all the water sources which were responsible for fatal cholera cases in the city, he also discovered the source of disease spread by contaminated water, and thus was able to control the epidemic within time. This technique was followed from map preparation by Charles Picquet in 1832, a geographer for 48 districts of Paris that suffered from cholera outbursts. Further, in 1884, Michael George Mulhall used pictogram to show data by icons that were proportional to a number. The French cartographer Louis Alexander Berthier mapped the Battle of Yorktown, that is the American Revolution of 1781, that involved hinged overlays representative of movements of the troops. Another key development in the history of GIS was done by Roger Tomlinson. He, then a 28-year-old geographer, invented Canada Geographic Information System, that is CGIS, in 1962. It is one of the oldest GIS methods used. CGIS is often considered as the roots of geographic information system due to its uniqueness because it considered a layer approach system to map handling. This GIS was developed with the aim of analyzing data gathered by the Canada Land Inventory, the CLI. These maps were prepared at a map scale of 1:50,000. These CLI maps, they classified land under various premises such as soil capability for agriculture, shoreline, capability for wildlife, recreation capability, and present land use. Due to Roger Tomlinson's contribution in this field and credit for coining the term GIS, he is also known as the father of GIS. An article on a geographic information system for regional planning was also published by Tomlinson in 1968. This article, however, came into light on the 50th anniversary of GIS by Environmental Systems Research Institute, that is ESRI, in the fall 2012 edition of Arc News. Now coming to Harvard Laboratory for Computer Graphics. Howard Fisher in 1964 founded Harvard Laboratory for Computer Graphics. In 1965, Sinographic Mapping System (SYMAP), a novel widespread automated mapping program, was designed at Harvard Laboratory for Computer Graphics. It was able to form choropleth, isoline and proximal lines. Line printer was used as the mapping equipment. It was executed all over the world's educational institutes. This program was significant as it provided facility to handle geographical data in computer package. Later on, in 1960s, an improved version of SYMAP, that is CALFORM, was developed. It was used to prepare high quality choropleth maps by pen plotter. The Harvard Laboratory Computer Graphics afterwards launched SYMVU, Grid, PolyVRT and Odyssey. SYMVU involved three-dimensional perspective views of SYMAP output. In Grid, similar output techniques as SYMAP were used to display raster cells. Odyssey GIS, that is the first vector GIS, was developed in mid 1970 with efficient algorithm for polygon overlay comprising silver removal. This was another development stage for GIS. The Harvard Laboratory for Computer Graphics in 1977 also organized an important symposium regarding topological data structures. The lab had significant contribution in the expansion of GIS until the early 1980s. The United States Census Bureau discovered the GBF-DIME, that is the geographic base file with dual independent map encoding files in 1965, indicating the wide use of digital mapping by the US government. This induced the development of Sensor Tiger, called as topologically integrated geographic encoding and referencing system files in 1986. These files are nowadays one of the most important socio-economic spatial data sets used. The next one is the most popular Environmental Systems Research Institute. Jack Laura Dangermond founded the Environmental Systems Research Institute, that is ESRI, in Redlands, California, United States in 1969. ESRI is renowned for its huge contribution in the field of GIS. The ArcInfo software was developed in 1983 by ESRI and over 2000 licenses per year were sold by it up to 1985. In 1986, ESRI developed personal computer version of ArcInfo software, replacing the use of Unix and other operating systems for running GIS, taking benefits of newly discovered platforms. The ArcInfo software comprises of grouping of computer display geographic features like line, point and a database management tool to allocate attributes to these geographic features. The ArcView software with desktop mapping system was developed by ESRI in 1992 that facilitated geoprocessing capacity to visualize data and overlay maps. This graphical user interface based software provided major enhancement in usability over ArcInfo's command line interface. The software was accepted by several defense, business, government and non-governmental agencies because of its simple usage and GUI interface. Further, ArcGIS was introduced by ESRI in 2001 that has common user interface which is easy for learners. Adding to research in this field, GIS reader software ArcExplorer was developed by ESRI in 2007. The features of this software include the overlaying and visualization of GIS data performing elementary geoprocessing operations. ESRI, with equal contribution from University of Maryland, Department of State Planning, introduced the Maryland Automated Geographic Information System, that is MAGI. GIS was used as data management tool with remote sensing based hydrological model in Maryland for the first time. The exhibition of several layers of data by base maps made the MAGI system important for GIS. Further, ESRI also carried out research with Newcastle, Delaware Institute for Public Administration's Water Resource Agency WRA in 1975. The use of WRA GIS was made into diverse fields by its users, led by Vern Swatos, also known as father of GIS in Delaware. The development in GIS was seen into several areas such as watershed management, land use and planning, public school management and monitoring pollution during WRA's combination with Institute for Public Administration. The ESRI organized its first conference in 1981 that was attended by 16 users. The ESRI user conference has developed to be the largest annual conference for GIS with approximately attended by 15,000 people. The annual conference is held by ESRI every year at San Diego Convention Center. In India, this ISRI India User Conference is held in New Delhi or Delhi NCR region every year. Further, coming to Minnesota Land Management Information System. The Minnesota Land Management Information System MLMIS was developed by the University of Minnesota Center for Urban and Regional Analysis in the year 1976. The digital land use maps prepared from MLMIS were merged with aerial photography. MLMIS represented geographic space by a regular coarse grid of 40-acre cells that was utilized to produce the raster maps. By 1980, there were about 200 users of MLMIS and numerous GIS projects were assisted by MLMIS. GIS emerged as an important technique for water resource management as Minnesota used MLMIS to add to the water information catalog. Meanwhile, the Kentucky Department of Natural Resources and Environmental Protection launched GIS as Kentucky National Resource Information System KNRIS in 1979. This system has the ability to map polygons at a resolution of 10 acres. It was enhancement over MAGI in terms of resolution as well as the economic cost. The KNRIS and MAGI software made use of grid software developed by ESRI. The Geographic Information Retrieval and Analysis System GIRAS was introduced by the United States Geological Survey USGS in 1973. It was developed with the ability to do geoprocessing operations. Coming to the next one, that is Intergraph Corporation. Intergraph Corporation was earlier called as Messrs Computing Inc. and was developed by Jim Medlock in the same time frame. Numerous individual spatial data systems were introduced that counted to 500 from previous to 85 between the time period of 1976 to 1980. The development of microcomputers in 1980s attracted the advancements in efficient mapping and spatial analysis techniques. This era brought large demarcation in GIS. The formerly developed Intergraph Corporation invented primary computer terminal for raster graphics in 1981 by making its own software and hardware. Further, a terminal proficient of rotating three-dimensional graphics, shading surface, uninterrupted zooming in and out, and involved a 4096 color palette and memory of 1 MB that was developed by Intergraph in 1982. Moreover, in 1985, digitization of various drawings to generate three-dimensional model of the Statue of Liberty was also assisted by Intergraph. Modular GIS environment, that is MGE, was developed in 1989 by Intergraph. The award-winning software with concentration on computer-aided design and its high-quality workstations made the Intergraph quite eminent company. In 2010, Hexagon acquired this company, which is still contributing to industry specific software for data mining and visualization. Now coming to the other historical contributions in the field of GIS. In 1979, the Map Overlay and Statistical System, which was an earliest public domain OpenGIS, was developed. The development of this software has important contributions in this area. This software was new vector based interactive GIS that provided combined vector raster processing. The US Army Corps of Engineers introduced first open source GIS software, the Geographic Analysis and Support System GRAS GIS in 1985 at Construction Engineering Research Laboratory in Illinois. It was developed as a raster based GIS program for land management at military installations. GRAS was used by both government and academic organizations throughout the world. The open source availability of GRAS GIS made it a flexible tool by its emerging users. The next one is MapInfo, that was founded in 1986 by Andrew Dressel, Laszlo Bados, Cian O'Sullivan and John Heller. Pitney Bowes acquired MapInfo in 2007. The development of MapInfo can be seen from its 23rd position in Inc. magazine's annual list of rapidly developing private organizations in US in 1992. Autodesk San Rafael is another company that initiated as a computer-based computer-aided design. It has now developed as leading CAD supplier. This company developed its first GIS AutoCAD map in 1996. Now coming to an well-known open source software, that is Quantum GIS or QGIS. It is a well-known open source desktop GIS software that was introduced in the year 2002. It provides facility to work with spatial data and is widely used by over 1 lakh users. Paleontological studies in Portugal, fire mapping in Australia and urban planning are some of the applications that were carried out with QGIS initially. Data visualization, data editing and its analysis can be done with this software. Further, Google Earth, that is a software for spatial analysis, was developed in 2005. It was initially developed by Keyhole and termed as Earth Viewer 3D. Later, when it was taken over by Google company, then it came to be known as Google Earth. Next is a user-friendly internet desktop GIS, that is also called as UDIG GIS. It is an open source desktop application that was developed in 2005. It was invented with Eclipse Rich Client technology for Java Virtual Machine. An open source geospatial foundation OSGEO, which is independent legal entity that helps and encourages the collaborative improvement of open geospatial data and technologies, was founded in 2006. It provides economic and legal support for broadening of open source geospatial community. Satellite remote sensing, global positioning system, GIS technologies along with enhancements in computer hardware and software has defined the usefulness of GIS. Georeferencing is one of the most important tools of GIS. Now coming to GIS History Project. So keeping these developments in mind, the GIS History Project was launched in 1996 with the objective to do and publish research on the history of GIS by all scholars. This project planned to create an archive for all type of documents such as published, semi-published and unpublished information regarding the early history of GIS. The developments in GIS have now reached to a new phase. GIS Day is celebrated in November month every year during Geography Awareness Week. November 19, 1999 was celebrated as the first GIS Day. Reston, Virginia hosted first AutoCarto International Symposium on Computer Assisted Cartography that was held in 1974. The International Journal of Geographical Information Analysis was available in 1987. Besides, The online classes for GIS were started by Dr. Anthony Robinson as massive open online course MOOC in 2013. This was a 5-week GIS course with 29,000 attendees under the title Maps and the Geospatial Revolution. So, dear students, to summarize this module, it provided us information about several developments in GIS since its early beginning. This module also enlightened us with the recently released open source GIS softwares as well as the commercial softwares that can run in a wide range of operating systems and perform specific tasks with numerous applications. I hope you all would have learned something from this module. Thank you.